Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of Hipther Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of Hipther Talks, the podcast that promises you to keep you interesting. Today we're having with us John Gordon from Incentive Games. Hi John, welcome to our crazy podcast idea. Share with us a couple of words, a couple of ideas about your background, about Incentive Games. How do you come across the domain? How do you come across the company?
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us. I'm John Gordon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Incentive Games. We're the leading worldwide free-to-play games provider in the industry, providing customer acquisition tools, customer retention tools, and really just unique content that our clients can serve up to their customers to keep them engaged and entertained. We look at engagement from a scientific point of view. I'm a chemical engineer. I was a chemical engineer for BP before I founded this company. So we do it all based on the laws of science and gamification.
Oh, really interesting. That's quite the mix there. I've learned recently that you got quite a contract with FanDuel. Congratulations for that. Could you let us know a little bit more about the deal itself and what games will you be delivering to FanDuel?
So we've just landed quite an amazing, the number one operator in the US, and we're going to be providing them with a bespoke daily free-to-play game. It's going to be based on non-sports, so we do like free-to-play predictor games or free-to-play fantasy games or free-to-play based on sport, and this one will not be based on sport. It's more like a little slot machine that we built from scratch. And it's a daily reason to come back onto the site, and the users can win free site credits, free spins, and they've also got the added bonus games and such that we've introduced. So it's a really exciting new product. It's a phenomenal partnership that we've managed to land with FanDuel. And before we signed this deal with FanDuel, we pretty much worked our way across the globe, so all across Africa, all across Europe, UK, South America, Asia, and we took our time in choosing our partner in the US, and we had a short list, and we're lucky to have landed the number one operator there. So a really exciting deal for us.
I can imagine. So basically with this deal, you put your foot in the US market for the first time. So why do you think, or why did the US market has for your company this much potential for this type of content, for free play content in general?
Well, the good thing about what we do is we give the users a reason to come back every day. So we're providing like a daily retention game, so that it becomes part of the daily routine. They collect certain things throughout the week, and if they come 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, they get more prizes the more times they come, which brings the user back to the site every day, giving them a phenomenal experience with unique content And whilst they're on the site, they can opt to play the other products that are on the site, which are not free to play. And typically when we do things like this, we can increase the weekly retention rates by around 50%. So for instance, what that means in real numbers is if our client's weekly retention rate was 50% from 1 week to the next, we can increase that to something like 75%. So they're coming back every day. And you can imagine with the amount of competition in the US in particular, having a competitive advantage of a product like our incentive games bespoke product, it can have a huge impact on our client's bottom line. So that can be very, very influential and important to our clients. So for instance, FanDuel in the US or Bet365 is our biggest client outside of the US. So we do similar products for them, similar but different. And those are retention games which we are really focusing in on. But there's a real opportunity in the US on acquisition as well. Where what we've done in the rest of the world is significantly reduce the customer acquisition cost. And we've done it everywhere successfully, but we've still to master it in the US. And I don't think there's anyone who really has done that, which is, that big acquisition game and efficiently funnel them into sportsbook or casino. And with all our experience and knowledge and data, I'm sure we'll be able to crack it this year.
So do you think that in general, operators are aware of the power of free play games when, especially when it comes to retention and acquisition?
It is becoming more and more mainstream. So I think a few years ago, so the company is only a few years old, and at the start it was difficult to convince them the value in it. Now everyone has them. Every major operator has free-to-play products of some sort, whether it be sports or casino style. And we're in a fortunate position where we don't need to teach their client that the values there. They either try to do it themselves, which is generally, unless it's Sky Bet, they do it very poorly, or they use one of our very few competitors. So it's a great time. It's a great industry for us to be in and supply, because it's very much we're in a fortunate position now where we can choose who we want to work with. So if the client doesn't get it, or the potential client doesn't understand the value of it, then we happily move on to the next.
But why do this work so well? I mean, what's the catch?
What is it work so well is simplicity. So often we see people create products that try to emulate what we do, and it's cumbersome, it's complex, and they try to make it a myriad of other things, like in terms of bonuses and all different layers of complexity. What we found works is just the simplicity of a daily free retention product that is well designed, that has the correct key core drives. What motivates the person to come back every day, and understanding what motivates the customer to come back every day, you'll get the desired behavior. So what I mean by that is, if you want someone to conduct a certain behavior, they need sufficient motivation, ability, and a trigger. The initial trigger will come from marketing. They need to be able to play the game without any instructions, really. And they need motivation to play the game. And only when those three are in sufficient levels will you get the desired behavior, which is to play the game. We then require them to come back and play other products on the site. But where we come into our own is we don't rely on our clients continually marketing those products. We create an internal trigger in the user's brain where they come back on their own accord. And when you can master that internal trigger, and the game is easy enough for them to play, so the ability is sufficient, and they're sufficiently motivated, we get the users coming back better than anyone. And if you're getting that return behavior where our client is not spending any more marketing money, then that's really the sweet spot. That's growth marketing, that's growth hacking. And that's where you see the likes of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. They don't advertise on mainstream marketing channels, or else they would be spending too much money. What we do is what they do is have these internal triggers in the user's brain, and that's what we essentially do for our clients.
So, do you think that this type of system, this type of mechanism, is more effective in the US market compared to other markets that you operate in?
I think it's actually innate in all of us. It works in Africa, Asia, South America, North America. The difference being is what we did in Africa, we devolved the products for the low-end handsets and the low data usage and coverage. And so we had to take away all the high graphical interfaces and the animations. When you go to America, it needs to be the same level as Instagram, because if a user in America has 4 or 5 apps, they've got FanDuel, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and WhatsApp. Now, if your product is not at the same level of those apps, they will not use it again. So even though we talk about those 3 things like motivation, ability, and trigger, what we're talking about there is ability, is within the product, how easy is it to use? How much does it cost? Well, it's free to play. How smooth is it? How much of your cognitive part of your brain do you need to use to play it? How much of a social norm is it to basically pick the game up and understand how to play it? And a lot of that is about, animations for the high end and smooth, minimum amount of steps and everything. And then in Africa and other emerging markets, it's more about limited usage of data and limited uses of high graphical interface. But to answer your question is it's innateness, and what we do is psychological in terms of the games themselves are not like on the Candy Crush of the world or anything like that, or like arcade games. They're the more about getting the user back, motivating them through psychology rather than high graphical interface all the time. So it's innate in us and what we do. So
I got the part where basically where there is not but in markets that the technological side is not that potent, you have to basically downgrade all the bling and the shininess of the game in order to keep its functionality. But what about the cultural differences? Because I suppose you're not using the same mechanisms for triggering that in the player in markets like you said, let's say Africa and US, or is there are there big cultural differences in terms of marketing the products?
Yeah, that's a good point. So what we tend to do is myself and my team would go and do some focus groups and speak to the locals and see what they're looking for. do the product research and what are the operators doing out there, what is working, what's not working. So there is quite a level of optimization, localization. By far and away, like the soccer-based countries, which is my main sport, so UK, Europe, Africa, South America, a lot of it is based on the single sport. And it's pretty easy from that point of view, but you still need to do the colloquial piece and go and find out what works locally. And then adapting that to the US is obviously, they've got the 4 major sports. So that's fine. And when it comes to the casino games, those are pretty universal. Probably the biggest difference is when you go east and the Asian market seems to be a lot more cluttered. That they would just put lots and lots of product on and see what sticks. Whereas we would probably be more the opposite and trying to keep it minimalistic and clean and such. So we do have a wide breadth and depth of knowledge about that, but you have to learn the hard way sometimes. And although this company's only been around for a couple of years, we've had previous companies in the industry where we learned our lessons.
So, if I got this right, it's not the case that you just have to dive in and then if anything's wrong, rip off the Band-Aid. Because if you do this, you are, as you said, you're gonna learn it the hard way. I was really curious about this because I can imagine that maybe it's not a good strategy to have the same product just visually rebranded for different markets. And I thought that you must have some working groups or some you must put the necessary attention to this factor. Now, outside of North America or the US, what are your plans for the year ahead? What are the upcoming opportunities for incentive games?
So we are pretty much focusing on tier ones or the number 1 or number 2 in each region. So around Europe, we tend to go with the number 1 or number 2 to either make them even more a dominant number 1 or get the number 2 to the number 1 spot. So we're doing the same in esports. We're just about to sign one of the biggest esports companies. Unfortunately, I can't announce them yet. They're a listed company, but I'll look forward to in the next couple of days. For us, it's a case of we've got Bet365 providing them with more product, hopefully, and the tier ones in each region. The esports is going to be a new venture for us, and we are also developing some metaverse games. So whenever the industry is ready, we are going to be more than ready. So it's quite exciting there. And then we're also doing some new types of products. So I myself am a product guy. I come up with some of the ideas, and I'm looking at what we can do with regards to always looking at new opportunities, which could take us into non-iGaming as well, so the likes of Amazon and ASOS, where we can use our mini games as a sort of post-purchase bonus where the users can get. So for instance, if you buy a toothbrush on Amazon, you play one of our mini games and you can get between 1% and 5% discount cash back or discount on your future prize. So what the techniques and the products and the psychological games we've created can work outside of this industry as well, which is quite exciting.
Mm-hmm. So I have to address the elephant in the room. Okay, except retention. What do I mean? Right now, I want to ask the question from the perspective of a guy that has no idea about the industry. Okay, except from retention, what do you guys get from clients paying free games? What's the catch?
Well, the client, our client gets a significant increase in their revenue. So when we increase the retention, we've essentially increased the lifetime value of the customer, because the more days they're on the site, the more days that they're betting on the site, and the more their bottom line GGR is. So we increasing the retention by 50% can significantly increase the lifetime value of the customers, and essentially the bottom line of the client's revenue.
Okay, and I have another question that I like to address to people from the gaming gambling industry, but I think I have an idea about your answer on this, because I kind of draw in my mind the way you're seeing things about this. Do you prefer a client spending $1 million in one game, or do you prefer 1 million clients spending $1 in your game?
And so you mean my clients, so basically Bet365, or do you mean the end users?
No, not necessarily end users. Just the principal idea. Let's talk about your clients.
Mm-hmm. So basically we have about 50 clients, probably more, and it is we would prefer to service the top tier ones if we could, but we will always honor all the games and all the clients that we've got, but from now on, we are not taking on any more clients without them meeting our criteria, which is brand level of the brand, the amount of users they've got, commercially if they can afford the products. So it's been quite a year or two for us where we went from our strap line was not working with us, you've got no game, and sort of saying come work with us, to now more like you almost need to qualify for us to be able to provide you with games. So that probably would answer your question, is fewer clients but at a higher level, is sort of where we're headed.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting to see how basically this is a trick question of mine that I like to address to people I'm talking with from this industry, and it's really interesting to see how I receive the answers vary from people to people. Even though there are only two options, everyone says something different. If I ask 10 people, they will say 10 different things, even though at the first hand you see that there's only two ways to answer this. And it's really interesting to see everyone's perspective on this, because it's a very dynamic industry, and everything is changing so fast. And for example, basically what you told me is that right now in this moment, your company prefers to cater the needs of the existing clients and to increase, let's say, the quality of the collaboration instead of getting new clients. Other companies are focusing on getting new clients. There are companies that are 50-50, or it's really really crazy to see how things are changing and in such speed. And I wanted to ask you another thing, since you mentioned the metaverse. Do you have anything in the making right now for the metaverse, or games that are adapting to metaverse? Do you think that there would be a 50-50 way? Do you think you can basically adapt existing games, or you have to create everything from scratch when you talk about a game in the metaverse?
It's a good question. I mean, it's all adaptable back to the principles of gamification, you know, motivating someone to play our game, gaining their attention, getting them hooked, for want of a better term, on our free-to-play products in the metaverse or in real life. One of my investors got me one of the Oculus headsets when I had COVID over in December, and I did a lot of research into the metaverse, and we found that I then started designing games in there, and I've now got concepts that I can pitch to the likes of FanDuel and others whenever the time is ready. But the concepts work, and whether it's in real life or in the metaverse. And I think, you know, if you can create a daily free game that's compelling enough to come back to every day, and it's in a casino in the metaverse, then, you know, I can see us being able to double the amount of daily active users, treble it, you know, within a short period of time. You think how valuable that would be for a casino in the metaverse, for example. And you can have a lot of fun with it in the metaverse. You know, a daily free game where there's 10,000 of you, and it's like an elimination, like Squid Game, until there's one or two left, and they get like an Ether or an NFT or whatever. So yeah, I've created not just the concepts but the designs. So we just need a client that is willing to take it off us and license it.
Oh, who knows? Maybe we'll get a client that's going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah. We're kind of running out of time here. So if there is anything that you would like to add on top of this.
No. I mean, I think it's an exciting time for us at Incentive Games, and it's such a rapid expanding industry, and things are changing all the time, and we're able to be nimble and agile enough to not only adapt to it but be ahead of the curve usually. So yeah, and although we're in a fortunate position now, I mean, just like everyone in the last 2-3 years, it's been up and down, but it just so happens that we're going really well at the moment. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate the time and the opportunity to speak to you and your followers. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, John. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to spend the time with us. Don't forget to subscribe to all our podcast channels, and talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next Hipther Talks, and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.